Welcome to the Maverick Minds Unleashed podcast. This is the space for real conversations with the most interesting people I encounter across art, craft, performance, business, and the worlds that sit between them. If you're trying to make something meaningful or become someone more fully yourself, you're in the right place. We talk about creativity, identity, entrepreneurship, and the strange path of building a life around what you care about.
Hello, welcome to Maverick Minds Unleashed. My name's Danny Lee, and I'm here as a host on episode 0, and I am with the man behind the vision and of Maverick. So I want to introduce you to this lovely man. Welcome. I've hijacked this podcast today because I am actually meant to be a guest on episode 1.
Yes, which I'm hoping we're going to film in a minute.
Hopefully.
But right now, I wanted to make Danny feel a bit more comfortable on camera, and 2, Danny came up with a really class idea of interviewing me so that people have some idea of who's behind the podcast.
And thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, I've really enjoyed it. We've actually been shooting some hair content as well. We've just done a full brand new. Well, we'll reveal it later, but we've just done a whole new system on Danny today on camera as well. So it's been a long sesh.
It has. But anyway, we're still raring to go, and I'm so happy to be here. But really what I wanted the viewers to kind of understand is just get behind you a bit more and see how did you get to where you've got to with Maverick? Where did it all begin?
So it's a remix of lots of things, and I'm going to try and tell you plotted history so that it makes sense. So, yeah, my name is Doe, and I'm from a place called Brighton, which is where we're sitting right now. And Danny's from not too far away.
Too far?
Maverick Delta as a brand started in 2020 and as a company. The concept I wrote in my exercise book when I was a teenager. I drew some ideas because a lot of the foundations of it I knew was missing in hair. So what do you want to know? You want to know the kind of how did I end up a hairdresser, or how did Maverick Delta come about?
I think it'd be really interesting to see, like, how did you become a hairdresser? It would be interesting to see what you did before and how you got there.
Okay, so hairdresser, I didn't really get a choice. Well, I kind of did, but I was a bit too young and influenceable. I was 15 when I was not doing so great at school. They were a bit worried about GCSEs, and at that time, the government had an initiative of taking kids out in year 10 and putting them in college, with the idea that they will leave with MVQs, so at least they've got a profession of some kind. Yeah. I was up for the idea because I went to a really terrible school that failed Ofsted 10 years running, and there was loads of bullying and stuff, and I really didn't fit in. So the idea that I could get out of school for a bit really appealed to me. So that's one of the main reasons I said yes. Anyway, first day we're turning up to college. They've gone, we've only got spaces on 2 courses. So I went, well, what are they? And she goes, well, you've got motor vehicle maintenance downstairs in the basement in the garages, or you've got hairdressing on the top floor. And to be honest, I ended up the only boy in a class full of hairdressers, and I can't to this day tell you why, other than there was a short period where I did both, and I got student of the year in both for year 1, and then in the second year, it was now a bit more full on with the classes, and I had to make a decision. So I gave up getting covered in grease, as much as I am a bit of a petrol head and I do like my cars till this day. I didn't think that being a mechanic was going to be my thing. And I grew up quite in theatre and music, and I did a lot of performing arts in Brighton. I was in Brighton Theatre Group, 11 to 18. I sang a lot. I had music lessons. I played the violin. So it was kind of like hair, fashion was an extension of the performer that was already kind of growing.
Yeah.
So I figured there was more in common with hairdressing than there was in mechanics, and what I was already kind of part of my identity, really.
So moving forward with that, now when we were just going back to what we were discussing before, when you said, how did Maverick become what it's become today? If you could just give us an understanding of that sketch that you drew in your notebook when you were 15, how did you get there?
So I never really liked the segregation between men and women's hair. I felt quite overwhelmed by being a teenage boy that was learning hairdressing, and that there was a presumption about what my sexuality was, and why I chose hairdressing. That always sat a bit funny with me. Equally, I was really interested in barbering, and back in those days there was no barbering course, so you did hairdressing, and I think they were called Book 1, Book 2, and Book 3, something like that. And it was only until you were about halfway through the second year that you were allowed to touch a pair of clippers, and you had like modules that were men's hair. So there was no separate barbering course that you could do a whole MVQ in barbering. I don't know if I would have picked barbering instead. I don't know, because at that time the option wasn't there. So it was like, if you were going to learn hair, it was blue rinse and rollers is where you started, and you know, using a tail comb and weaving highlights and foils in. So I did all of that. But I also eventually took work in men's hair only in a barber shop, and I worked with the Turks. My family are Turkish Cypriots. They class themselves as Cypriots. My dad spoke Greek and Turkish. So I grew up in an environment where men's grooming has always been quite an affair, as opposed to probably more hairdressing or a bit of a quick, short back and sides kind of culture that we've got in the UK for men's hair. So I was always into more of the lotions and potions and the pampering and the face massage and the hot towel. I was used to all that stuff. I have an uncle that's quite elderly now who was a barber in Nicosia in the same shop for like 55 years or something ridiculous. And I watched him working every summer holidays that we used to go back there. So I love that as much as I loved Sassoon and hairdressing. Anyway, the point is, the Maverick Delta vision starts with feeling like you don't fit in one place and you don't fit in somewhere else. And then I could also see that in clients. So there were clients that weren't really happy going to a hairdresser's, weren't really happy going to a barber's. It was a bit too much of a sausage fest in the barber shop. And there were too many conversations about divorce and people calling you babes and asking you where you're going on holiday. And it was all a bit too much on the feminine side. And so I never really fit in either. I worked in both. I found my own, and I made my own client base, my own rhythm in each. But I was probably the first kind of gender neutral hairdresser barber that had that in his head from 15 of, why the hell do we segregate people? I later found out that in the more senior ends of hairdressing, so the posher the environment, for example, if you were to go for a haircut in Mayfair, you wouldn't have men's or women's. You go to the hair salon and everybody gets service there. And the service is incredible. And also the quality of the cuts, regardless of gender. And they happen under the same roof. Now, you get people that are specialisms, but they don't get segregated as businesses. You don't go to the barber shop in Mayfair, and you don't go to the hair salon in Mayfair. It's a hair salon that everybody goes to. And so it was like, when you got to a certain level of prestige, a certain ability level, and a certain environment, location, and price point, suddenly gender is not in it. And I found that out when I was in my 20s, and I got really excited about the fact that was the case. And I ended up going to these places for haircuts as an entertainer, but that's a different story in a minute. I didn't go as a hairdresser to get my hair to work there. And so the gender neutral thing and the not fitting in either of the gender camps, and also seeing the merit in the craftsmanship and craftswork of each and precision. And I see myself more, even back then, as a carpenter of hair. I like working with the architecture. It doesn't matter whether the hair's, black, yellow, orange, blue. It doesn't matter if it's long, short. I see it as architecture. And that wasn't the norm. So I always wanted to start something that was uniquely, dare to be different, be whoever the hell you are, can go to that place and have your hair done. So that idea was always there. The aesthetic of the biker skull and all that, it's all a development. And it was originally, when we opened here in Telscombe in 2020, post the UK lockdowns in the COVID era, I did originally open it as Maverick Barber Lounge. And that's because originally its life was going to be a pop-up barbershop. And I was trying to stay very narrow in that lane of, the tattooed barber with the neck tattoo and Instagram. And I was on that, riding the end of that wave, really, of coming back to barbering because it was sexy again, right? I'm not going to lie to you. And barbers were kind of allowed to do more. Like there was more scissor work and more razor work, and everything was just a lot less bland. And it was all a bit 2D back in the day. So I thought, this is a good time. However, and maybe I'll tell you a funny story about how the gender neutral thing, because that tells you how we got to Maverick Delta. So we're barbering away in this room, right, in 2020, post-COVID. Everyone's wearing masks for visors. We're sweating like you wouldn't believe. I literally was wearing glasses, a visor, and a mask, just everything steaming up all day long. Anyway, we're back to back with appointments, doing men's haircuts. And this lady is walking her dog literally past the front door that we're sitting in front of. And she pops her head in and she goes, "Excuse me, do you do?" And then this got really awkward now at this point, right? Because she said the do and she's like stuttering. The first couple of do's, I thought maybe the woman's got a stutter, so don't say anything.
Yeah.
By the fifth do, I realised it was a lot to do with anxiety and I'd worked out what she wanted to ask me. And, you've now been a client of mine how long, Danny?
Oh, nearly 2 years, yeah.
So in those 2 years, you will completely understand how I get away with saying the following.
Yeah.
But what I said to her was, one word, I went, "Vaginas."
So you.
At which point, she did exactly that. She burst out laughing. It completely broke the ice. The entire barbershop was in fits. And she went, "Yeah, it's just that, I've got really short hair and no hairdresser can really do it this short. And when I go into the barbers, they tell me they don't do women." And I could see that the lady, was I don't mind saying, I don't think she'd care if I said it. She was a rather butch lesbian lady that wanted a mask haircut.
Yeah.
But she was being denied entry into barbershops because apparently it's only for sausages. And that's such an old school viewpoint of it. And really, it was just out of being a human. I went, "Look, I've only got one concept here, which is if I can do justice to the hairstyle that you want, and I've got the skill, I'll do it."
Yeah.
So I said, "What is it that you're looking for?" So she explained that she wanted this quite mask haircut. I looked at her head and I went, "Yeah, I can do that." I said, "See the young guy at the desk, he'll find you an appointment. It won't be for another couple of weeks, but we'll get you in." So that was literally day 3. 2 days before we opened, Valerie, who used to work at Maverick Delta, did you ever meet him? Tall Bulgarian guy.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Invites everybody to his house.
Yeah.
Do you remember? You should come to Bulgaria.
He lived near me, didn't he?
Yes, in Grawley. Yeah. So the story is, Valerie, and he doesn't mind me telling this, bless him, he now lives back in Bulgaria. He got married, stuff happened to do with visas and stuff in the UK post-Brexit, and it made it really difficult for him to stay. Otherwise, he would be here right now, and he was one of the best that I've ever had work with me in the time I've been here. Anyway, Valerie, actually, on the benefit of this, so listeners, the guy behind the content is also a long-term client. He won't come onto the camera, but he'll say hi. Ben, are you there?
Yes, hello.
Right, so Ben, do you remember Valerie?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Did Valerie or did he not invite you to his house in Bulgaria?
Instantly. Within 5 minutes of meeting him, yeah.
Did he say anything about his mum cooking dinner?
He did,
Yeah. This is the type of bloke he was, right? Love him. So Valerie lived in Crawley at the time. He was a DPD driver. So during the build of this, I was doing it all myself because COVID, lockdown, and I didn't have a clue. I was watching YouTube videos, and so a lot of this, I'm not doing the next fit out in the new studio. That's for sure. I'm a bit busy doing hair these days, but this one, I had the time, right? We were all locked in the house. We had the budget to do the build, and I had nothing to do. Plus, I couldn't get any builders in the building because of distancing and all that. So I had to work out how to fit the place out myself. Anyway, during that time, I'm obviously ordering stuff online, and every delivery that comes here is coming via DPD. So this Bulgarian fella that don't really speak a lot of English particularly well, with a heavy accent, later turns out actually Valerie was really good at English, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but the accent was always there. So I presumed, like most DPD drivers with an accent, that he probably didn't speak great English. But actually he was really good. But I never spoke to him that much, other than thanks for my parcel. He'd take a picture of it, and then he'd run off. Anyway, one day, we were 48 hours before opening the doors, and he brings me the last delivery. And I'm standing here, obviously having not been able to cut anybody's hair for months, bricking it, thinking, I haven't even touched the scissors in 6 months, and I'm starting a hair business tomorrow.
Madness.
So I got one of them plastic blockheads that we train people on, right? In fact, he was called Kobe. And I was doing it in here because Gemma had banned me doing it in the house because I was practicing during lockdown in the house. I left Kobe on the stand, and Zeren was really little at this point. My daughter, I think, could have only been 2 when we went into lockdown or less, right? So she's put the baby to bed, or the baby's woken her up in the middle of the night. I'm snoring my head off. She's gone downstairs with said baby, and Kobe is on the spike, on the stand, just this plastic head with eyeballs in the dark because I'd forgotten to put it away. Scared the living daylights out of her. She nearly dropped the baby. And then that was it. I was banned from ever having Kobe in the house or forgetting him out. So I thought, I'll bring Kobe to work. So I was standing here practicing on one length, just getting the scissors and the comb back in my hand. Valerie comes in with a delivery. This is before I even know his name. So he puts the box down. He goes, "You all right?" At the door. And I went, "Yeah, I'm good." He went, "I want this." And I went, "What?" And I thought he was pointing. I went, "Scissors?" He was like, no, this. And he's pointing at the blockhead. So I went, "Yeah, mate, you can get them on Amazon. They're like 30 quid. But what, you're going to practice barber? What do you need them for?" He went, no, this hairstyle. So I then realised that Valerie's got his hair like in a, I don't know if you remember, when he first came here.
He had short hair.
Oh, he had short hair. I chopped it all off. But when he was the DPD driver, he had a man bun, like really long, like I'm talking Aquaman, kind of down to his shoulders, really thick Bulgarian long hair. And he'd been growing it all these years. And he decided that he liked the fact that I was doing long hair and that he wanted a haircut from me. So you add Miss Vaginas at the door and Valerie's long hair within the first month. I was doing long hair and butch lesbians, and everybody was welcome.
Yeah.
And then, fast forward a couple more weeks, and you've got the odd pensioner going, "I want a Dame Judy," and she still comes here, bless her, Ruth. She lives a few doors up the road. She always comes in for a Dame Judy, which is basically a finger length, right? But with lady bangs and a bit of that. Well, when you've done a bit of hairdressing and you're a really good barber and you've been doing this, everybody's welcome. If it's in my skill set, we do it.
Yeah.
So then it didn't make sense to call it a barber lounge anymore. So that's when we changed to Maverick Delta. That's when we changed to studio. We got rid of the gender element. And if I can do it, I'll do it. And then, of course, you end up with the fast forward of and then, I don't know, Doe gets a little bit, I don't want to say bored, but those who know me will tell you I'm a little bit more than just a bit ADHD, right?
Just a little bit.
I mean, like certified high functioning, lots of, anyway. That's another conversation for another day, right? But part of that is that people can read some of what I do as boredom. Oh, he's bored now, so he's going to have to do it. Nah. I'd done it for a long time. It was nice to come back. But after the first couple of years, I just was repeating a lot of the same techniques.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even plan it. And I reckon I know what your next question is going to be, which is, you're wearing a hair system, so you're thinking, how do you end up at Hair Systems? Am I right?
Well, I wasn't going to mention it until episode 1 because you would have seen me. But but now, we're just going to come on to that. We may as well touch on that because we spoke about it earlier when we first come on. We've actually been doing a lot more than just the podcast today. So we've been doing a lot more.
Yeah.
So I'm here as a client.
Yeah.
I'm a host today, but I'm going to be a guest on episode 1. But I'm also a long-standing client with Doe, and I wear a hair system. So that probably is where the how did we get to that point?
How did we get to Hair Systems? So I went to Salon International and I had no plans, right?
And if people don't know what Salon International is, it's...
so it's a massive trade show that happens at the XL every year. It is the big international show. Lots of people come from all over the world. The second one, there's another one in Paris, but there's not that many. There's the odd dotted one across Europe, and London is the main one. So I went to Salon International at the XL a few years ago, and there was a company that was demonstrating hair systems, and I was just wandering around with my then number 2 here from Maverick Barber Lounge days. And we stopped to look at the stand for a little bit while the guy was doing it, and he was at that point, you know, when I'm gluing the front and I'm about to roll it down. So I've obviously watched the prep, and now I've caught it right at the moment where the glue's drying at the front and he's about to roll it down. And I turned round to number 2 and just went, any minute now he's going to drop that thing. It's going to look like a wig. Guarantee that front hairline's going to look like a freaking wig. There's no way. Well, he rolled it down and it didn't look like a wig.
Mesmerised.
And I was so surprised that the hairline didn't give it away that immediately my insides went, I could work with that.
Because that you, as you being you and the way that you think fast, was like, I could do that.
It's not that I could do that. It was the excitement of the idea that the hairline was already quite realistic.
Yeah.
And I think the way my brain works is I immediately picked up on, it's too far forward for his age. No man that age has a hairline that far forward. Secondly, I was like, meh, the colour match.
Yeah.
Then the density. And I was like, these could all be improved. And then I was like, a bit naturalisation, like, just put it a bit wonky. Nobody's got a perfect hairline. If the hairline is that believable to explain to people at home, right? When we use poly or lace, it's the idea that the base sticks to your head and then the hairs stick up. Now, traditionally on a toupee, you'd end up with really dense hairline at the front. So it looked like a rug starting here. right? And then where you put that does affect it. But if it's really thick, it's not believable. Nobody's hairline's not mine's terribly thin at the front, right? And it changes as we get older. The density at the front. Anyway, these systems have obviously moved on from the 70s toupee. So he's dropped it down, and I can't see any seam. I can't see where hair is meeting skin. I can't see any big thick line. And immediately I'm like, well, maybe I could improve on what he's doing, because that's pretty impressive, but I reckon I could probably push it further. And I was immediately thinking about how can I twist it and put little baby hairs in, because people have got little baby hair breaks and uneven. It's like, surely we can put that stuff in, and then no one would ever know. And that's just immediately where my brain went to. And to be fair, I'd kind of was reaching a bit of a plateau in what I was, not in my hairdressing, but I would say probably in what was being demanded of me by my clients. So there wasn't more to learn in hairdressing and barbering. There's always. Like even now at the moment, my whole thing is curly hair. I'm not very confident with it. I can create with it. I can chip and chop until I get somewhere. I understand the techniques, but if another barber or hairdresser said to me, can teach me curly hair and all the rules about how to cut proper curly hair, I'm not an expert. I'm still going to courses and learning stuff. So you never end up learning everything, but sometimes where you are and the clients that you've got, amazing, like how loyal you guys are. But at the same time, like, you know, even Ben will testify, right? You can look at my diary and every 4 weeks, I do the same thing again. Because my clients are so loyal. So unless they change up the hairstyle, they're not going to suddenly, if I've got majority wavy hair in that week, well, in 4 weeks' time, I'm going to be doing majority wavy again, right? Yeah. I'm not going to all of a sudden get a week's worth of afro hair to do.
I think that's where it's important, as a system wearer, it's really important when you look at it to change things up or go a bit longer or go a bit shorter or changing it here, changing it there.
See, that's the fun bit with systems, right? You haven't got to wait for it to grow. Every 3 months you get a new one. You can, as long as you're owning it, right? Obviously, people that know you at work and stuff might go, wasn't he there 2 inches shorter yesterday? But most people don't notice.
Yeah, I think that's what I was getting, just before when we took off the old one, we put on this brand new one today, which is looking insane, by the way. I know that a couple of the girls that I work with at work, because obviously flying in aviation, I've traveled the world. Obviously, it's really difficult when I'm at work because I need something that's going to be easy on the go. It's hot. I'm in destinations that are hot, cold. So actually working with you and talking about the systems and what's going to benefit me and my lifestyle choice, I guess. It's not just all about aesthetics or... Of course, if it's going to make me feel more confident or give me, a little bit more spring in my step and a little bit more confident, I guess, but it's got to be practical for my lifestyle. So yeah, sitting down and knowing the ins and outs about my system.
Well, see, that starts with, that moment where I watched it go down and I immediately became intrigued and I wanted to learn more. I wanted to understand a bit more. I then took the decision to learn how to do it with that said company. And that was one of the first of like 3 main courses I did. And probably of 5 or 6 people that I've actually sat with and exchanged ideas on hair systems and a lot of trial and error. But it began with watching that piece get put down and going, it does not look like a wig. I could do something with that. And that intrigue of, well, I am kind of doing the same clients over and over again, similar hairstyles. I could do it with a fresh challenge as well. Oh, I like the idea of specialising in something that really, you have to be quite a good hairdresser, if I'm honest, to do a hair system. Because you're mixing the hairdressing and barbering skills. So that really, pulled me was what technical skill you needed to be able to pull that off. And I could immediately see that a lot of the people that were doing hair systems, they were doing them well. But one of the things that they all seemed to struggle with was the clipper work. So being able to get somebody to go like you've got, skin fade into a hair system with hair at the top that don't grow and hair at the sides that will.
Sorry, are you looking at mine? Sorry, what this... Amazing work.
So humble is my client.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot about being humble from you.
Well, I think also, isn't it? It's like learning how not to to push it as much as we possibly can as well at that time.
Yeah, and having brave souls like you making me push it real.
But it's also on the other set of actually taking direction as well, not just pushing the system to its limit or keeping it within its boundaries, but your direction as well with regards to systems. Like maybe we should try keeping it a bit longer, or maybe we should try doing something different. On every visit, I think we have that conversation, don't we?
Yeah, I think that comes out of my own intrigue, but also with your inability to settle with a hairstyle.
That's very true. I put my hands up.
I have got clients that we do exactly the same haircut every 3 months.
Oh, I thought that was just a service that you offer.
I mean, and he's understood it as every time you come, you can change it a little bit.
Yeah.
That's been his tact all this time, which
mean-
I've enjoyed. But I think Danny sometimes does forget it doesn't grow. So we have to wait. If we're going to do any drastic change, we've got to wait till the new one in 3 months' time. But that kind of concludes, right? So hairdressing and barbering from like 15, 16. I was in Out, Shake It All About. I did quite a bit in ladies' hair, bit in barbering, but it was all stop-start because of the said other career that really took off in my late teens, early 20s. It was dominated by that, really. So there wasn't a lot of hair cutting, and I came back to it in 2018, and within a year, I was looking at starting my own, and then obviously COVID, and then I was brave enough, like during UK lockdown when everyone was battening down the hutches, and I just took my entire life savings and every royalty check that I'd ever earned, and said to my wife, "We've got a decision to make. They've offered us the store now that people have come back from furlough, and they're saying if you want it, it's yours." I said that we're going to be nuts enough to do this, and thankfully she's has a lot of belief, does my wifey, and she let me do it.
Yeah.
I put a whole house deposit down to build this instead of buying my family home, because I knew that this is what I wanted to do, and I knew this was the next chapter. And the old chapter's still there. Like, I've never stopped being a musician and an actor. It was a tactical retreat, if I'm honest.
Well, that will be the next chapter. We've got so many more of these chapters to go through and so much more to learn and find out about Maverick Minds Unleashed. Got to say it like that because I keep getting tongue-tied. So,
yeah, it's quite funny.
But yeah,
So
thank you for letting me hijack. That was a really nice.
I've enjoyed it.
I think I calmed down a little bit in the end.
I think we can get you maybe to come back and we can have the musician chat another day.
Oh no, that would be amazing.
But hopefully that gives you guys some idea about kind of who the loon is, chopping the hairs and talking about hair and identity and stuff. I think I would just like to say to all the viewers is, look, Maverick Minds Unleashed is way more than about haircuts. This is not a podcast that's designed for barbers and hairdressers to geek out on hair and hair systems. Danny will testify, actually, while you're here. Has coming here been your average haircut experience?
No, it's been a lot more than that. Like I always say to you, I always look forward to coming here because I do unwind.
Amazing.
Which, though, it's nice to feel at ease, of course.
Maybe give them some idea, because it does not sound very hubbable when I talk about it, because it's a bit weird me saying it. What do the chats mean that we've had on the chair? Like, what kind of stuff have we shared with each other, and what do they mean to you?
Well, I think it's about how it means the world to me, because it gives me more of an insight. It makes me feel more comfortable around you and to know who my barber and who my barber, and not only a barber but a friend, I would say now after these years, and it just puts you at ease. It makes you feel confident. It makes you feel like the trust again, just to have that trust with your barber or your hairdresser, whatever you've got, is so important. So I think we have that, which is really important. So,
and I'm really glad that's the case, because it's not unconscious of how that happens. Like, so a big part of what Maverick Delta has all been about as well has been the development of how do I put it? There's a psychological side to what we do, and the whole reason for Maverick Minds Unleashed is the same as the translation of what I've been like whilst cutting your hair and what life has been like on this chair. Is we've had a lot of deep conversations.
Haven't we?
I've been here, been part of all kinds of twists and turns in your family's life, your personal life, your professional life even.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you've always trusted me with that sort of stuff, and so do a lot of my clients, right? And I have that type of relationship with them. And so I don't necessarily see it as therapy, because I don't really feel like I'm qualified to be people's therapist. But I am somebody who's had a few struggles in his own life, and I've often been the guy that goes seeking answers. So I've been reading books and trying to improve my own life and getting coaching with this person and therapy with this type of person. And so I've done a lot of work. And then through osmosis, you know what happens? People sit in the chair and they start talking about their childhood traumas. Well, I ain't no therapist, and also I don't lack empathy, but I'm not that guy that really going to sit there and go, "Oh, I'm really sorry that's happened to you." It's one of the weird things I don't like about British society is people will apologise.
Yeah.
Even though my initial instinct is, why are you apologising? You're not the one doing that to me.
Yeah.
But it's such a British thing to say, I'm sorry you're going through this. And I've never been that guy. I mean, I think all clients, probably including Ben who's on the other side of the camera, will say to you, what I do is I try to solve problems, or I just try and change my perspective on how I see things. And so I try to do that with my clients. I go, well, I learned to do X and it really helped me. Maybe try that. And that's kind of then snowballed into, people do genuinely ask me for tools and tricks and things that I'm using at the moment to improve my self-image, ultimately. And self-image is both on the inside and on the outside. So a big reason why Maverick Minds Unleashed had to come out and these conversations was, I can't translate on the internet the depth of the conversations that we have about people's personal lives. It's like, how are we going to get the chat that happens on the chair out onto the internet for other people to see that don't come here as clients? And this was the only way I could think of doing it. And to share that internal, external self-image. I mean, you'd agree we'd had conversations about how you view yourself, what your aspirations are.
So many times.
A lot of stuff to do with your confidence. All that stuff with fibers that we're going to talk about in the next episode.
I think it was also, the fibers that I was using, and the hitting 40. I think that was it's one
also
of the biggest...
effort and energy you were putting into try and hide hair loss.
Yeah.
And then what that was doing to your internal image, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you were seeing on the external wasn't matching the internal.
And I was very aware that other people could see that I was trying to cover something up, which made it really, really difficult because I wasn't being my true, authentic self around people. So I felt like I was kind of like putting a guard over myself.
And so now you can see how the guy that ends up chopping hair ends up getting through osmosis, pulled into these psychological conversations.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely...
And I'm like sitting there going, I don't know if I'm really qualified for this, but it's developed in my skill set over time. I've spent so long now servicing clients and having going through every twist and turn of their lives with them that I can't really do the pity thing. So as somebody who works on myself and understood self-image from the work of Dr. Maxwell Maltz and psychocybernetics and reprogramming your brain and high-performance athletes, what they go through, a lot of the training I had as an entertainer, high-performing entertainer of 20,000 people in an arena, and I've had people coaching me to be able to overcome that all I've done is just take that and pass that on the chair. So I wanted an extension of those private on-the-chair chats. Yeah. But to be titillizing the ears of some people.
But I think what we spoke about as well is how far and how wide this actually goes. It's not just young guys that are turning older that are losing their hair. It's women, it's young women, it's older women, it's big strapping young straight butch men. It's vast, isn't it? It's really vast. It's not just single to single an area. No, there's many different walks of life of people wearing systems.
I mean, if you can imagine me put in a room, everybody that comes here, the different walks of life.
It would be incredible.
With system wearers and non-system wearers, right? Yeah. But imagine if I brought everybody that gets a service from my chair in a room. Yeah. I don't know if they'd all get on with each other. I think the one thing they have in common is that this, tit and silly hat and glasses is someone that they have as their and I think friend and confidant has become an extension of these relationships with long-term clients.
Yeah, I really agree with that. I really do.
So hopefully we're going to have way more structured versions of these conversations going forward. But I'm just really pleased to be sharing the chats and those moments, but a little bit deeper and a little bit more inside for the outside world, rather than, if anyone at home's wondering, this is what it's like when me and Danny get in a room. It's just there's no cameras and no microphones. No. And there's a lot more swearing. Because, Danny can be punctuated with beeps. Anyway, we must go now. We'll do another episode about my hairy face another day. Let's wrap this one up. Yep. Danny, you're the host, so I'm going to let you sign it out. And then, after a quick bathroom break, we will come back after a brief intermission, and I will take over doing episode 1 with the lovely Danny Lee. But for now, here's Danny Lee.
So thanks for watching, guys. To all the viewers, thank you for meeting the fabulous Doe here at Maverick Minds Unleashed.
Thanks for having me in my own podcast. It was really nice.
Oh, thanks for I hijacked it. Has it stopped?
Go on then.
I think we covered quite a lot in that.
Yeah, that was good.
Benjamin, have you got any questions?